a light at the end of the tunnel, and it doesn't always have to be heavy, is really important too. But I think people need to be talking about, yeah, there are going to be moments when you feel lonely and you have to distance yourself from certain friendships and you have to stop certain behaviors and habits that you've been doing for 10 years, and like, that's not always fun, but there is a light at the end of it, and reminding them of that, and having them work with like that hope and that vision, and see other people who have done it as like confirmation, okay, I can do it too, rather than, oh, I can't do that, that person is like separate from me.
Yeah, Shannon, I think you make an amazing point there, that the need for people that have been on the journey to self-discovery and higher purpose to tell the harder story as well as the end story, where they are, where your client in 5 months' time posts on social that she's got a new yoga teacher from India. Everyone sees that as the outcome of, oh, well, she's awesome and she's happy now, but hasn't seen the work that's taken place to get to that. They just see the outcome and want to get there, but haven't seen that. Yeah, it's been a hard journey. Like, it's been really rocky, but there's a saying that, like, to get to the treasure, you got to get to the depths, and you've got to go deep sometimes to get the real gold. But we don't sort of portray that as much. And I love what you do, and what you're trying to do is talk to that and embrace the journey, not so much the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
When you said you've got to get people to get the buzziness out of their head and get clear and get the space, like that within itself can be tough. So I'd love to just unpack that a bit. And how do you work with your clients to get a bit more space, to get a bit more clarity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I kind of like you said, everyone's so individual, which is why I really like working with one-on-one people, because you can see like, okay, what do they need right now? And you use your tools and your practices, and you kind of lead them on this journey. But I also do groups. And so what I found works really well, just like a couple things that work really well in general are, one, what I have people start with is just like a very simple meditation practice that they're going to do.
Yep.
3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, right? Especially if someone's been meditating for a while, then we can like jump right into some deeper stuff. But if they haven't, like, I have a real conversation with them, and I'm like, okay, we need you to meditate every single day and commit to a practice, and we'll figure out what time of day is going to work best for you and what's the time we're going to start with. And so some women are like, okay, I can do 3 minutes. And so we're like, okay, great, we're going to start with 3 minutes. And so then now they're sitting with themselves for 3 minutes every day. And I just start with like the simple breath, right? It's so simple, but like, just use your breath to connect with yourself and to connect with the present moment. And let's start there, and let's start working with that. And do you, Shannon,
so in that, is that the narrative you create with the clients, is we just want to begin this meditation for however long it is to connect with the breath, to connect with the moment, and that's the reason why I want you to meditate? Like, how does that, because I gather you can say, I want you to meditate, but there needs to be a purpose to the client as to, well, why do you want me to meditate? What are we trying to get from this, as opposed to just let's meditate?
Mm-hmm. So, because right, we know there's like 1,000,000,001 benefits to meditation, but to simplify it, the reason why I'm having them begin is to connect with the present moment and to connect with themselves.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And so every day it's that act of, I'm showing up for myself too. I'm sitting with myself, and I'm sitting in stillness and silence with myself. Whereas a lot of like people and women, it's like, we're running around, we're people pleasing, we're taking care of people, we're exercising, we're eating, we're socializing, we're reading, we're absorbing all this self-help stuff, and we're not just like sitting and forming a relationship with ourselves and the present moment that is our lives. And so that is how I start people, is like, let's start there, and we'll kind of build off it. Ideally, I'd love to have clients sitting for 10 to 20 minutes every day, and I integrate different guided meditations and things into their practice, but we start with what they're going to start with. And the cool thing is, like, they notice within a week, within 2 weeks, like, they're noticing how this is changing their life. And I don't need to tell them, like, you can expect this, and this from your meditation practice. I don't even put that in their ears, you know, because they'll notice it and they'll share like, Shannon, I noticed that, you know, I was at the park and this gentleman came up to me and, you know, he wanted to talk to me, but I felt really uncomfortable. I didn't want to talk to him. And like, I was able to like take a deep breath and like be nice to him and then walk away where I wouldn't have been able to do that before, you know, and they like find these little tangibles wins and they're like, ooh, there's something to this. I'm going to continue. You know, just those little things are so important.
Yeah, I think, Shannon, and you bring up probably one of the best points when coaching and talking to people. It's meeting them where they're at. And I think exactly what you're saying then. There's no point in asking them to do 40 minutes of meditation in day one and they'll never do it and it won't stick and then they drop off the wagon again. And I think that's the beautiful thing. What you're saying is it's 3 minutes, it's 5 minutes, but we actually want you to do it. Like, what can you do and take action on right now, as opposed to where I want you to be and I expect you to be, which is a completely different narrative. So I think that's super important for that. I'd love to know what your practice is in terms of how you prepare when you get to catch up with a client. Like, what's your preparation for a client beforehand? Do you prepare quite in-depthly, or do you then you sort of just, as it comes, you play it by your heart and your soul and what you feel is the right thing to say and bring up? So what's that tension that you hold between those two?
Yeah. So I feel like I really get to know my clients. And it's something like I really value in myself is for our first session. Well, first, before they even work with me, I really get to know like what's going on with this woman and can I help her? And then once we begin to work together, the first session together is very long. It's like 90 minutes to 2 hours. And I'm diving deep and I'm asking a lot of questions and I'm taking lots of notes, but I'm also just like allowing my soul and my human self to just like soak up all this knowledge about this person. And then what we'll do towards the end of the session is we go through like a bunch of different pillars. We go through spirituality, we go through body, we go through relationship with self, we go through health, we go through like your connection with your femininity and sensuality. Like we go through a number of areas and I guide them in a process of meditation where I ask them to really visualize into what the current reality is for them in this area of their life. So if we focus on like body, how do you feel about your body? What do you think about your body? What does your relationship with your body look like? How do you treat your body? What do you think about when you look at your body in the mirror? And I have them like bring all of that to their mind. And then we go through that, we take a deep breath, and then I have them visualize, okay, ideally, what do you want your relationship with your body to look like? How do you want to feel about your body when you look at it in the mirror? What do you want to be wearing? What do you want to be putting into your body? Like, and then I have them create the ideal. And I have them do this in a number of categories. And then once I guide them out of the meditation, they just like word vomit out and share everything.
Yeah.
And so then when we start coaching, I've got this beautiful picture of like, okay, know a lot about this person. I'm starting to get to know their personality more. And then I've got this beautiful picture of like, this is where they're at and this is their vision. And we've got 6 months to make this vision happen. And so at that point, then it's just like, I just intuitively coach them, the goal being to get to that vision. And the halfway point, we kind of check back in with that vision, make sure it's still in alignment, because things shift and change, right? Like in 6 months, like they might have a whole different vision for their body and they might have even gotten there and they want more. So that's kind of, I'm like working off of that. I'm working off of this woman, how I'm intuitively reading her. And then before each session, I just like ground myself. I review all the notes. I kind of review her stuff. And I'm just like, you know what, source, just like work through me and help me to guide this woman to what she needs right now. And while I'm coaching her, I'll get little like hits of like, oh, we need to do this practice right now. I'm like, okay, we're going to go through this practice right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's a beautiful insight into like the process. I don't think a lot of people understand the process of coaching, and every coach is going to do it slightly different, but the process of there has to be an element of preparation and planning, but I find the people that coach really well, there's an element of you've just got to be with the person as they are right now and see what happens from that. You can't be too prescriptive. So I think that was really nice to sort of to take people through. Do you find your clients when you get into the inner work, so for instance it's the body and people go, well, what do you want your body to look like, and what would you be wearing, that then when you get into sort of more inner work and people realize there's more about acceptance of just what is, that then that shift to wanting to look that certain way actually isn't how I want to look, because I've got more acceptance of my body as it is now, so that I want to actually focus a bit more of my energy on mindfulness and meditation as opposed to just nutrition and how I look. Does that happen with your clients quite a bit? The trajectory changes quite a lot as they do more inner work and go on that journey?
Yeah, it totally does. It totally does, because something I do work with is active acceptance. We've got to accept what is, not so we stay with it, right? Like if it's like, oh, I hate my body. Okay, but can you accept that you hate your body?
Yeah.
Right? And then what do we want to get to, right? Yeah. Okay, well, I want to get to a place where like I accept where my body's at right now. Okay, let's get there, right? It's like eventually I want to like love my body and really value my body and see it as a beautiful temple and all these things, regardless of what it looks like. But we're not there right now, so let's start working with acceptance. And I do find that women, like when we start to work with acceptance and this and that, then yeah, like this ideal image or ideal picture kind of goes away. And they're like, you know what? I like dressing this way, or like sometimes I like to wear outfits like that, but like that's not actually authentically me all the time. And so once we work with acceptance and work with like owning who they are more, then a lot of that stuff does kind of just float away. Yeah. And it's not really the goal or the desire. The desire is more of like loving who they are and putting more, what's the word? It's what everyone wants. Oh, confidence. Putting more confidence energy into like loving who they are versus who they think they need to be.
Yeah. And I don't know with you, Shannon, but you must work with women that are more in that corporate world, and I work with a lot of men, but there's a pressure to look and behave a certain way that is really inauthentic, and it actually takes a lot of energy from them. And what people sort of realize is like vulnerability and authenticity, when you can unlock that and build that relationship with yourself, it's actually a real performance tool. Like it's a performance tool where you actually improve performance. It's not a soft and fluffy thing where you're actually going to get walked over and people are going to take advantage of you now because you're vulnerable and you're practicing meditation and mindfulness or whatever you're doing because it's soft. I'd love to know how you speak to that, because that's something that I talk to a lot, but because I see it as a real mindfulness and vulnerability is a real performance tool in leadership now and in life.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. And kind of what I have to add to that is I think that especially right now, everyone is just craving people to be themselves.
Yeah.
And almost, it's like, oh my gosh, you're yourself. Now I have permission to be myself. Right. And I don't have to keep pretending that I'm okay all the time. And when you ask, how are you? I don't have to always say good, because I'm not always good.
Yeah.
Right. And I think our world is really craving that like actual authentic connection and relationships and leadership where this person can show up and not be like a mess, but be authentic and real, and not be preaching from this pedestal of like, I am enlightened and I am perfect and yada, 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 but show that they're a real person and they're working through these things. And I think that when you can show up and be yourself, it actually inspires other people and helps to give them that permission they're looking for to be themselves.
Yeah. And I agree completely. And I think the work that you're doing is that helping some people have gone off the journey that far that they actually don't know who they really are. So it's the self-discovery of, okay, who am I really? Because 10 to 20 years of being someone that isn't authentic to you, it takes quite a bit of work to get back to that space of who I actually am and who I really want to be and what my purpose on this planet actually is. Is that for you sometimes some of the starting blocks towards what you do is actually the building the relationship or finding who you really are?
I think so. Yeah. Because a lot of women, and myself included, get so distracted in comparison. And especially with social media and media in general, and just like everything out there, it's